everybody, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. Today we're going to do a little bit something different. We're going to do a ACT review and prep video. If you do like this content, like and subscribe, comment, and if you do like this content, go ahead and when you subscribe, hit that post notification bell to be notified every time I upload a new video. So without further ado, I want to go ahead and get started on this ACT review and prep. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with the big thing. What will test day look like? Okay, so depending on what program you're in, you would need to check and see, because the writing portion is optional. I would see which, like whatever program or institution or whatever that you're going into, see if they do require the writing exam, and that will add an extra 45 minutes on top of what you're going to be allotted for the rest of the test. So again, we have 4 sections. We have an English, math, reading, and a science portion. All of these are going to be multiple choice. The math section, your question is going to look a little bit like this. Okay, the math section is the only one where you're going to have 5 answer choices instead of 4. All the other ones will have 4. And so, first of all, I do want to just say I will be making another video on math in particular, because it would be a lot longer of a video than this one would be for. But I do want to just say, like, one big tip in case you don't come back to this channel. I really recommend when you do the math that you plug and chug. Okay, so I will say, when you go in on test day, you will be allowed a calculator. Okay, this is a TI-30X calculator, this is a TI-84 Plus, and this is a graphing calculator. You are allowed graphing calculators. Make sure that on the day of test day that you have batteries in it, you've got it charged, whatever you need to do. Okay, so let's look at this question that I wrote. Okay, so let's say that we want our answer choice to be equal to 31. Okay, for this question. Okay, we're going to go in and we're going to start with C. Okay, and here's a tip and trick for you for the calculator. We're going to do 3, and then this little button right here, this STO, that stores it, and we're going to hit X. And that's going to save that as our X value. So we know that our thing is X squared, and it's plus 3X plus 6 plus 15. Okay, so that gives us 39. Our answer is 31. These are all going to be in order on the test, so we know that 31 is too low. Or 39, the answer that we got for C, 39 is too low. It's, we need something, the answer for C, 39, is too big. We want 31, we have 39. So we can go ahead and mark out all of these 3 answers. Okay, so we know it's going to be either A or B, and let's see. We've got, let's do answer A. So let's do 1 and store that as our value of X. Okay, and then we can just take our little arrow and hit enter on that equation that we had, and that's going to give us 25. Okay, well 25, the value that we would get for A, is too low compared to our 31. So we can conclude that B is our answer. And sorry, I am looking through my viewfinder, so it is a little bit harder for me to do that. So I do want to go ahead and say the time that you will have allotted on each section. So on the English section, We're going to have 75 questions in 45 minutes. It's not a lot of time. With the math section, we're going to have 60 questions, 60 minutes. Reading, 40 questions, 35 minutes, and science, same, 40 questions, 35 minutes. Again, all of these will be multiple choice, unless you end up doing the writing section, and that will be essay format. Okay, so I do want to quickly give some advice on studying. Okay, I recommend watching some YouTube videos and tutorials. You can see I've just looked up the ACT, and you can put whatever section, tips and strategies. Now, the person that I brought up is one that I really liked watching, and I'm not going to try to pronounce that because I don't want to pronounce it wrong. But that is the name of the video. And I just feel like he did a really, really good job of explaining certain things. He does a really good in-depth math video that's about 2 hours-ish long, maybe a little bit under that. So I would definitely check him out because he is really, really good. Okay, so again, on day of test day. Alright, we are going to have like enough time, hopefully, to talk about some of the strategies and some of the things that are really beneficial if you have an ACT coming up soon. But I do want to go ahead and talk about, let's see, let me get a pen. Okay, and we're going to title this, What to Bring. And I'm going to also, as I go through, tell you why I would bring this. Okay, the first thing, again, I showed you the types, but you're going to want to bring your calculator because, especially having 60 questions, 60 minutes, you're going to want to have a calculator on hand. Again, I would recommend the TI-84 Plus graphing calculator. So we're going to put calculator. Okay, so the way that this test is, it is a Scantron test, which if you've never had those before, they do recommend, I think, if they're using the machine, I don't know if it's that they won't read it, but they say to bring number 2 pencils. And I would at least, like if it were me, I would bring at least 4 to 5 pencils because you never know what's going to happen during the test. You know, you could break your pencil and you don't have time to sharpen it. So that's a really, really big thing. Okay. And I'm also going to say, like, on the night before, don't be one of these people that crams all this information in. Take the night before off. I know that's going to sound really crazy because, you know, like, oh, well, I need to study all that I can. But more than likely, you have learned what you are going to be able to learn, and cramming information is going to tire your brain. So take that night before and, you know, relax. And also make sure that you go to bed at a decent hour. But for example, if you normally go to bed at like 11 o'clock at night, okay, don't go to bed at like, you know, 8 because you're going to throw your sleep schedule off. You know, try to go to bed around like maybe, you know, 10, 10:30. Just make sure you get some really good sleep, and you don't have to, unless, you know, your time, whatever time you take the test, you don't have to get up extremely early. Okay, and I'm going to also just go ahead and be like, to do. So this will be what to do before your test. Okay. First of all, you are going to want to study, not on the night before, but you're going to want to study, whether you are a visual learner and you want to watch things like YouTube videos, or, you know, you want to buy like some books. I would recommend those in conjunction with each other, personally. But it's really important to study. So a big thing for me is, and I'll give you a little bit of a backstory, it has been around 4 or 5 years since I've had a math class. So I did pretty well on my ACT. And also, I didn't mention this, but an ACT, the highest score that you can get is a 36. So just be mindful of that. And I believe, from what I can remember, they said that an average is around like 19 to 20. Somewhere around that. Okay. So what you're going to want to do that morning, okay, jump into like a cold shower, cold bath, okay, because that cold water is going to wake your brain up, okay. So I'm just going to say cold water, okay. Another thing is, on your way to the testing site, if you are being driven by somebody, or, you know, get there a little bit early and sit out in your car or in the lobby or whatever and read, okay? Take like a book or something along that lines, and I would say at least read for about 5 minutes. Okay, and the reason why I say this is the first section is English, okay? It takes a minute for our brains to get into the habit or the, you know, rhythm of reading. So take 5 minutes, you know, kind of wake your brain up and get it used to reading information. And also work on reading things quickly. You don't want to take too much time during the exam or during the test to be, you know, reading the questions. Another thing is, you know, learn conciseness. So I'm just going to put concise. Okay. I spelled that wrong. But on a lot of these tests, the reading and the writing, they're basically asking you which answer is the most correct. Okay? Again, I will be doing a section or a video on each of these tests and each of these topics. So, another thing is bring some gum or mint. Okay, so I would also recommend that while you're studying that you read gum, because a lot of times our brain can relay memories to us based on, you know, eating, things like that. So a lot of times, and this went for like high school, college, all that stuff, I would, while I was studying, eat or chew a piece of gum, and then on the test, I feel like that would bring up some memories. And again, like the mint is just for the thing that, like, mint is very cooling and all of that. So that's more likely to wake you up a little bit. The next thing is I'm going to talk about eating. So on that morning when you go, don't eat like a big load of food, because, you know, a lot of times after we eat, we get really, you know, tired and lethargic and things like that. So I would recommend just eating like a light breakfast or a light meal before you go in. But you also don't want to not eat anything at all, because then, you know, your stomach could be rumbling during the test which would not only distract you, but, you know. So the next thing that I'm going to say is, and this would depend on like when you're taking your test, where you're taking your test, but I'm going to say layers. Okay, so what I mean by layers is, especially if you're a person that gets really hot, really cold, anything like that, again, we don't even know like what the temperature would be set at or anything like that. So I would recommend, you know, wearing a t-shirt and bringing a jacket. You know, it doesn't hurt to have the jacket in case you need it, and then that way you're not wearing like a sweatshirt that's going to be really hot on you, that's going to distract you and take you off. Or yeah, you know what I mean. So the next thing is I'm going to put comfort. Okay, when you go in, I mean, don't wear like pajamas, but wear like sweatpants, yoga pants, or leggings, or something like that, that is comfortable. You don't want like a material that's scratchy, that's going to distract you, especially, you know, I have ADHD. That is something that really bothers me, is like textures of fabrics, and things like that. So make sure that like what you're wearing is comfortable. You know, don't go in and, you know, wear something that you're going to be focused on, like it being itchy, or just wear something that, you know, you like to wear. Okay. I'm also going to say, just in case you do need it, water. Okay? Do not drink a ton of water, just because, again, be mindful that like you don't get a ton of breaks in between. And it does depend on your proctor how much time you get, and if you get it between all of your sections or just a couple of them. But don't drink a bunch of water that's going to make you need to go to the bathroom. And also, go to the bathroom before you start your test, so that's one thing you don't have to worry about, you know, because again, if you do in the test end up needing to go to the bathroom, that's going to distract you, and that's going to be, you know, all you can think about. Okay. So another thing that I would really work on and make sure that you do is, you know, that morning, like, make sure that, like I said, you know, jump into a cold shower, you know, do things that help. If you are a person that, you know, drinks coffee or energy drinks, whatever, you know, make sure that you have had that before you go in. And I do know that some testing sites, they will allow like bottled water, but they won't allow like tumblers or cups, or, you know, like the metal cans that, like energy drinks and sodas and stuff like that come in. So, you know, not only will like the coffee, the caffeine kind of help wake you up, but so will the water and all that stuff. Going back to our sections. Okay, I'm gonna kind of tell you like what each section is gonna look like. Okay, so for our English section and somewhat the reading section, what we're gonna be looking for is conciseness. So I would recommend looking through, and always when you answer questions, look at, you know, maybe like a sentence or two before the sentence that it's asking about and a sentence after. Okay, so for example, you know, if we're in the English section and it wants to know what kind, or like what version of this word are we going to use, okay, we need to look at like what tense we're in, past, present, or future. So for example, you know, we wouldn't say, you know, if earlier in the story it's talking about Sally and saying that, you know, she had went to these different places a few weeks ago, we wouldn't say that she is going to, you know, the farmer's market, if that's where she went. We wouldn't say that she is going, because that would indicate that she's going in the future. We would say something more like, she went here, and all of that. The science section, I feel like math is pretty self-explanatory, and again, I will be doing a more in-depth video about some of the tips and tricks for that. Reading, again, really important. Read a sentence or two before and a sentence or two after, because a lot of times you will read something and you may look back in the paragraph and like, oh, it's already, you know, kind of said this. You want to choose something that is bringing new information because you don't want it to be too wordy and all of that stuff. But for the science section, you're going to have a lot of graphs, a lot of tables, and questions are usually derived from that. And also you may have like a few sentences here or there. So you really have to, on the science section, go looking for the answers. So I would personally recommend reading the question and looking and seeing, like, first of all, a lot of times it'll ask you in table A, it does this, or, you know, what would this answer be, whatever. So you can look at stuff like that and be like, okay, so table A, I'm going right here. But I hope this helps. I know that the quality is not that good, but I hope that, you know, if you have made it to the end of this video, that you can at least take one thing from what was said, and apply it to your future ACT prep. And again, check out some of those videos. You know, different people may work for different people, different tutorials, things like that. But really do research and really look into not only like doing practice questions, but really look and make sure that you're understanding why the answers are how they are. You know, a lot of times in the ACT books, it will provide you with an explanation, you know, like, oh, well, the answer is C, and it will even, like on a math problem, work that problem for you. And so you can see what you're doing wrong and how to fix it on those questions in the future. But I will try to do the math section, and, you know, I hope you all have enjoyed this video. Thank you so much.